Children's drawings have always interested psychologists, and central to this interest is the idea that drawings offer a window on the mind, a window through which the development of perception, thought and emotion can all be observed. Jean Piaget, the 20th century's most influential psychologist, suggested that children go through universal stages in the developmental process, which are clearly reflected in their drawings. But how far does a child's surrounding culture influence this process? Do these children from Dundee show the same developmental stages as these Australian Aborigine children? Clearly, one universal is enjoyment and fascination with drawing. Once even limited motor control has been established, children everywhere are delighted by the circular patterns they can produce. Are they more than just patterns? Scribble, or a face with eyes, a nose, and a mouth? Dean is 3 and is telling Dr. Peter Willets, a psychologist from the University of Dundee, that the picture he's drawing is of his mum.
Okay. Is this your mum here? Yeah? Which bit is that? Is that her face?
No. It's got lots of spots anyway.
Good, lots of spots. You certainly have. Yeah.
The finished drawing does indeed have lots of spots, but it's difficult to see a face or any arms or legs.
Where's Mickey's arms?
But Dean clearly understands where they should go, as he demonstrates in his next drawing of Mickey Mouse.
Has he got any legs? And has he got a nose? Got a big black nose, hasn't he? Right there. Where's Mickey's tummy button? Do you know? Do you know where that would be? You do know how to do it, don't
So, with guidance, Dean has drawn a more recognizable figure, and he knows where everything should be. The head seems to be the most important thing, though. Hannah and Jenna also put great emphasis on the head. Like Dean, they draw what are known as tadpole people, where head and body are one.
What's that you've just drawn? Can you tell me? What are these? They're her eyes. Anything else you can draw? On there, what else does she need? There we are. What's that?
Legs.
Her legs. Can you put some arms on? Can you? There you are. Can you put some arms on yours, Jenna? Where did your mummy's arms go? Do you know?
Let me can it.
Oh, all right, you're not going to make that. There you go. Oh, super drawn. Okay, that's lovely. Can we just have a look at your pictures?
All these tadpole figures were drawn by children of 3 and 4.
Let's have a look at your picture. Oh, it's really nice. Could you draw me her arms? Yeah, could you show me where her arms are? There they are. There's one. Oh, give her some fingers. Oh, that's really good. Okay, all her fingers. Can you show me where her tummy button is? Do you know where that goes on the drawing?
Gary's drawing starts out as a tadpole person, but when asked to put in the tummy button, he draws a line across the legs so that his drawing of his teacher now has a body.
It's a lovely drawing.
These artists, like Gary, are all 4 years old, and the body now seems to be a significant part of the drawing. A developmental pattern appears to be emerging. But do Aborigine children draw in the same way? Is there a universal developmental pattern? These Walbury children, an Aboriginal group, who've maintained their traditional language and culture, live in a community at Yondamu, 350 kilometers northwest of Alice Springs. Their environment is very different from that of the children of Dundee. In the red desert of Central Australia, the heat and space means they mostly live outside. Their homes or shelters are simple constructions called humpies. The children are used to running about freely, observing all that is going on around them. But there are Western influences too, and from the age of 5, they go to school and follow a structured day. Dr. Edith Bavin, head of Aboriginal Studies at La Trobe University in Melbourne, has worked with the community for a number of years. Christopher is 4, and like the children in Dundee, is deeply involved in his drawing. Does his drawing have any meaning? To the casual observer, it may look just like scribble. But when Edith asked him about his picture, he explained how the different colours represented a man and a woman's tracks through the bush. So even at this early stage, is culture already exerting its influence? Roger Wales, Professor of Psychology at the University of Melbourne, has observed children in this same Aborigine community with Dr. Bavin. He believes we have to be careful how we interpret children's drawings.
It's difficult to go and get appropriate sorts of data, so I think whatever one says, one has to be careful in this sort of an area. Insofar as there are data, they are not consistently in favour of the notion, as far as I can see, that all children start off with tadpole figures and then elaborate them in a particular way. And there would appear to be cultural variations, and also variations even within a culture, which would suggest that if there are universals, they're at a fairly abstract sort of level of representation.
Roseanne is 4 and is drawing what appears to be tadpole figures, but when prompted, like Gary and Dundee, she elaborates her drawing. When asked to draw our sound recordist, a body emerges reflecting the colours on his recording equipment. What is interesting also is her preoccupation with the hands and feet. Could this be a cultural influence, reflecting once again the importance of the tracks through the bush? The finished drawing shows the central figure of the sound recordist complete with headphones, and 2 tadpole figures. Clearly, there are similarities in the way children draw, but even at this early stage, there are important variations too. Culture certainly seems to show a significant influence. But is this surprising? Culture is important in any society and in any child's life. From a young age, Aborigine children are exposed to a wealth of cultural experiences. Art and life are interwoven. Women tell the children stories, illustrating them in the sand with specific symbols which everyone learns to understand. Symbols are important throughout Walbury culture. Children have their bodies painted in preparation for dancing with specific patterns showing the land for which they and their families are responsible. Painting and drawing are integral to storytelling and dancing. The chest patterns are often depicted on canvas by adult artists. These paintings at the National Gallery of Victoria, Melbourne, are by Walbury painters, and whilst the symbols may appear abstract, once decoded, they provide a key to the Aborigines' rich culture. They are a form of visual language. The semicircles, or horseshoe shapes, represent people seated at an important ceremony, in this case women. The larger semicircles in this particular painting represent the more important women or elders. The concentric circles represent the place where this important business is taking place. But the interpretation of Aboriginal designs and images is not a one-to-one equivalence. Each symbol or icon may encapsulate a variety of meanings according to the situation in which it's presented. Symbols can represent a number of different things. For instance, a wavy line can be a river or a snake, and the circles may be a well or a campsite or perhaps a fire. The desert paintings of Central Australia are distinctive because of the aerial view showing people seated, inside and part of the land. The colours dramatically reflect the moods and colours of the desert. Aborigine children learn this language. They are exposed to two very different forms of education.
Because they do see the designs, the body paintings at ceremonies, and they see the curved shapes and so on, and this obviously is going to affect their perception of how you draw and what you put on paper or canvas. And in the Dinyundamu now, the women and men are doing a lot of painting on canvas. They see these around. And traditionally there is no verbal instruction. People don't tell you this means this means that, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. Children learn by experience, by constant exposure, and by repeatedly seeing the patterns painted on particular individuals, different ceremonies. They learn the significance. And I think this would then must have, and does have some impact on their drawings from an early age.
Jessica is 6. Her drawing shows a mixture of styles, both Aboriginal and Western. The people, or in Walbury, yappa, on the bed, are the traditional symbols, but notice the car is depicted from a side-on view. The driver, though, is the traditional semicircle.